if there was an algorithm that was specifically made for you,
For me.
that said, here's how you should live your life,
Mm-hmm.
the things that you eat, the exercise that you do, whatever, all of those things.
Yeah.
And with the idea that you could be immortal, basically live past normal human lifespan, would you follow it? Would you follow it exactly to the algorithm?
Welcome to the Warrior Mindset Podcast. We're your guide as you make your way through life, getting better 1% every day. We believe that life is lived and true victory won through adversity. Nothing easy is ever worth it. We believe in the warrior ethos and support those that choose to walk that path.
Man, what's happening? It's been a while.
It has.
And you brought some heat, man.
Yeah. Well, I've had a bunch of things I've been reading, a couple of things that came up.
You mailed me a book.
I mailed you a book. Well,
I thank you.
I shipped you a book from Amazon, so
It's the same as
but I almost bought it here in town, and then I realized it was like $30 more to buy it here, so I shipped it to you.
Hey, I appreciate it though. It just showed up, and I was like, I didn't order anything from Amazon
this time,
particularly a book. It's from Aaron. That's cool.
Yeah.
So what was the book?
It's
I haven't read it yet.
It's here. Isn't this nice? It's a nice white book. The Wealth That Money Can't Buy by Robin Sharma.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned it last time I was here. I just started to read it.
You did.
I even gave credit to my mother-in-law who got it for me.
Okay.
And it was a Christmas present. I was kind of looking at it going, oh, interesting. And I now get it. And I'd never heard of this dude before.
I hadn't either.
And
it was also confusing when I opened the box.
Yeah, exactly. Like, wait, what did I get? Damn it, they know me.
How drunk was I with this stuff?
But as I've been reading through it, I have to say, like when I was in the Army, after I broke my back, there was part of the time that I was actually working at night at Books A Million.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had access to a whole bunch of books and a whole bunch of audiobooks. And I started reading and listening to Deepak Chopra a lot. I'm
just happy they had audiobooks back in 1922.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I know. During World War I.
You're welcome.
So, and there are things that I remember this one particular thing that I was listening to as I was driving off base or out of base, and he was describing. He's like, as you're driving along, and I was driving.
Mm-hmm.
Think about, look out, in front of you, look out along the road, look out, at the road itself, along the road, everything that you see. And he just kind of talked about, the fact that every single thing that you see in front of you is made of millions, trillions, billions, whatever, of tiny, molecules, atoms. And when you start to think about like just everything in this room, what it's made out of, at its smallest piece, it's pretty fucking impressive. And the fact that it's all different.
If you're impressed by that kind of thing.
Well, I guess. And so, so he was somebody that kind of stuck with me.
Yeah.
And then I think on the jacket cover of this book, he was one of the people that, gave a review or whatever
they call them.
Yeah. And so was like some rapper. Anyway, and I'll struggle because I took the rapper off the book, but I took the rapper with the rapper. That was dad jokes. So I was like, okay, I'll take a read to it and everything. And the chapters are short, and I'd really like to do a deep dive on it sometime.
We'll come back. I gotta finish. I'm about halfway with it.
Okay. But what is done for me, like I started reading a chapter a day, and just like, in the morning, chapter day.
Yeah.
And the chapters are short, so it takes no time at all. Yeah.
But one poop chapter.
Well, yeah, even less than that sometimes. When I don't do it on the toilet, actually. But as I was reading, and as I've gone, and it's the end of February now, and I've instead of reading one chapter, like I think I told you, I got to a point to where I was like, I really want to read further ahead and everything, because I felt like when he's writing and the style that he writes in, it's very, it's like, I'm going to drop this, awesome information to you. And then it's like, and by the way, I'm going to finish the chapter now because I'm going to go ride my bike.
Yeah.
I'll see you later.
Yeah.
And that's, how it's written is it's how he's taught. And so it feels like a, more of a conversation. With something.
The part I've read so far, it feels like a bunch of like little podcasts or whatever kind of stuck together.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. And so I've really, so this on top of last year reading the Peter Attia Outlive, and then at this, like, I actually didn't start reading this book initially because at the same time I picked up like 2 books from the library, and one was on like the something on Ted Lasso, and and so I was like, yeah, that's interesting. But the other one was How Not to Age, by what's his name, Michael Geiger, Giger, maybe. And so these things kind of weave together, these particular books, plus, turning 50 like we did last year. Like 50's kicked my ass.
Has it?
I'm normally kicking an age's ass, but this year with like knee problems and stopping running for a couple of months, and then gaining weight on top of that, and then trying to get back into it, like I stopped a lot of things at the end of the year that I was training for a marathon, and so it has kicked my ass.
Did you hurt your knee? That's why you quit?
Yeah. Well, I didn't. Yeah. I mean, I started trying to do more strengthening exercises and kept working out, but I just couldn't run. And
seems pretty important for a marathon.
Yeah. That. Turning.
You ever done a marathon before?
No.
Okay.
But I got last year to where I ran half marathon length, and then when I got to that point, I was like, what do I do now?
I have no doubt you could do a marathon. I've run with you before.
Yeah. And honestly, like, if I don't have to go downhill, I can run fine. It's the downhill that's killing me right now.
Downhill always does suck.
Yeah. Or turning left, turning right. You never do that.
Going backwards or running.
We're going forward. If I could just go forward for a long, long time, I'll be totally
in
fine.
a car.
Yeah,
I'd be better off.
Right, exactly. But so a lot of these things have really started to, I've thought about them more in depth. I've researched more in depth.
Feeling your mortality, are you?
Yeah, I have been. Which, I mentally, I still am a 14-year-old. So, there's that.
We all are.
But physically, like, and I had to have a family home on the coast in South Carolina, and had family members pass away, and so now we've been dealing with that house, and
that always puts things in perspective.
It does.
Dealing with family,
dealing with death, dealing with also, like, not even my mortality, but like cleaning out a house.
Man, I can imagine.
And the memories that go through there, but also literally, the shit that you have to put into a dumpster sometimes.
Some people have more stuff than others.
This is true. And so all of these things matter. On the Outlive, it was about, and also on the How Not to Age, like, it's been about the physical and mental, those books are very similar, by the way, just coming from slightly different perspectives, but they're about the physical aspects that influence the mental aspects. They're about the emotional aspects that influence the mental aspects that,
Yeah.
and how it all ties together and how that goes towards, different types of, uh, health. And your lifespan versus your health span. Do you want to live forever? Well, are you going to be sick that entire time?
Yeah, that does suck.
And then there's a lot of the emotional and again mental side that's what the Wealth That Money Can't Buy book. I think I said last time too, like he's not against money. That's not
right.
He coaches billionaires.
That's the point.
But it is more about the how do you want to live your life. And so as the last part of this soliloquy, I was telling you, I sent you this guy, Brian Johnson.
Yeah.
And the reason why I sent it to you is because during a meeting I was on, my wife pulled me aside and she said, hey, she sent me this dude on Instagram. And then she's like, have you heard of him? I'm like, no. Yeah. And so then she's like, well, take a look at this. And it was the Kardashians. So I didn't tell you where this came from, but it was the Kardashians show that is still going on. And the Kardashians went and met with this guy, Brian Johnson. And when I looked in here, I also saw that, Huberman Lab follows him. And so I was kind of surprised to see in the show, Huberman, or was it Andrew Huberman?
Yeah.
Was there in the show along with this dude.
Interesting.
And so it was like, I listened to Huberman every once in a while.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay,
when you have a spare 4 hours.
Yeah, exactly. But so I'll take a look. And I would say that, like, the guy's a little, he admits in the piece, he's like, people call me AI. So basically he's a self-tester. He says he's the most tested human in the world or something like that. And
that's the first video I watched. Where
Okay.
He's like going through all the stuff that he's done for himself and his morning routine or whatever.
Right. And I'm sure, but I want to get to the question that he asked, the Kardashians basically at dinner, or maybe it was dinner. He says the last time he eats every day is 11:30 in the morning.
I was going to say,
yeah,
from the video, he just drinks liquid all day.
Exactly.
And eats nuts and berries.
Well, maybe. But like he's 46. He says that, I don't know what his biological age is, tested to. I didn't look. But and I said to my wife, I'm like, well, if you look at his receding hairline, to me, I don't know. He looks older than 46, but but here's the question.
Okay.
If there was an algorithm that was specifically made for you, that said, here's how you should live your life, the things that you eat, the exercise that you do, whatever, all of those things.
Yeah.
And with the idea that you could be immortal, basically live past normal human lifespan, would you follow it? Would you follow it exactly to the algorithm?
It's hard to say. I would like to think I would. Yes.
Why?
Because I want to live forever.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if it says have no, I don't know, but have no contact with family, that's
what I'm saying.
Drink,
that's what I'm saying. It depends.
Have no sex, things like that.
It always depends. No. Then no, I wouldn't.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Right. And that's the, so I'm sure that's his, like,
right.
My cocktail party question.
Yeah,
but he's actually, experimenting on himself and everything and going that direction. So,
yeah.
And it was interesting actually to hear the different Kardashians. Like there was one that I guess the oldest sibling or whatever, that she was basically calling bullshit on everything. And she's like, like, I eat kids foods, chicken fingers and things like that. And she's like the number 7 healthiest person in the world, or something, they did some tests.
Yeah.
And she's like, why would I follow that?
Yeah.
If I'm already, if I already eat like shit and, I'm in incredible health.
Is she really though?
I don't know.
That's the thing.
I don't know.
It's all, I don't know. I don't want to talk about something you don't want to talk about. I mean, I see those things. I mean, I've gotten to the point where like I see this is my morning routine thing, and I just kind of laugh.
Sure.
And I've been all about that life, you know, and there are things I do, but it's like, it's kind of out of control.
Yeah.
It's like, I follow this one account on Instagram. It's intrapreneur. And it's like, it's like
myself up.
It's like wake up 2 a.m. Drink pot of coffee. It's like 2:30 a.m. Punch children.
Hustle,
3 a.m. Drive to New Mexico. 4 a.m. invest all your money in all stocks. It's just like all this stuff.
Right.
It's like 4 a.m. fuck cold plunge, jump in ocean. But some of it comes off like that, where it's like, and it's the age old, like, hey, I had this uncle that was like 102. He fought in World War II. He smoked and drank every day, killed a bunch of Nazis. He's 102, Well,
did you?
It's like, what's he been doing right?
Did you see today is Scott's 125th birthday?
I saw that. 120.
Fucker.
Dr. Scott, it's 120. Here's one to you, man.
Woohoo! Yes, I would.
But like, I think the mental aspect of all of this is probably more important to your health. I mean, I'm not saying, if you're like morbidly obese and you eat, hamburgers every day, like that's not good for you, or you're alcoholic, but you're happy. That's not what I'm saying. But like, I think just your mental, your outlook on everything is probably going to help you, as far as longevity is concerned, than anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and
I think that's the point of the book. Wealth.
Yeah.
What does wealth really mean? Wealth it doesn't always have to be money. I mean, look at Trump. He seems like the most unhappy human being on the planet, but he's like a billionaire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Musk, he's the richest man on the planet. He seems super unhappy. You know what I mean?
That's why everything has to change.
But that's my point. Like, why aren't you happy? And you give me $1 billion, I bet I'd have some problems.
Yeah.
Because then you'd just be worried about keeping it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't know.
I think out of the 8 forms of wealth that he has in there, like number 5 is actual wealth or richness.
You have to have money to.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have enough to, what is it, Maslow's hierarchy? You don't have enough to like sustain yourself in a decent way.
Right.
Your life's going to suck. It's going to be very difficult.
Yeah. And that's his point. I think in the intro, he starts talking about like, again, don't get me wrong. Like you need money in order to, and he talks about, the difference between, or maybe that was something else I was reading. But he talks about having enough in order to be,
so that's my,
enjoy yourself.
That's my thing with these things though. Like, and if I'm going in a different direction, that's sorry, but
I don't care.
Like the Brian Johnson guy, like the first video I saw was his daily routine. And it's like, he's like, well, it starts the night before. I go to bed at 8 or 9 or whatever, and I got to get, 11 hours of sleep or something. I'm like, well, good luck. I mean, I don't know who's getting 11 hours of sleep.
Right.
Like, come on.
Apparently his kids. I was surprised to hear that.
That's not happening.
Yeah.
But then it's like, wake up, immediately go get in your light room where you get 12,000 lumens in your eyes, and then, go drink your morning slurry of vitamins or whatever, and then do some exercise, and then drink a pint of water, and then go get on the bike or whatever.
All right.
And then by 7:45 is when I sit down to work, and it's like, what? I mean, that's not a normal human day.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, he's like, oh, and by the way, I'm the CEO of 4 different companies. So I have a very busy day. Most people aren't the CEO of 4 different companies.
Right.
With, blue light in their bedroom and, you know, in the video, he and I'm busting on him. I mean, I actually like the guy after I watched several more videos, but like, he lays down in his bed and it's like, there's no one else in his room. I don't know about you, but my wife lives with me. Yeah. I got a dog. I mean, I don't have, and it's like completely black and it's got like air purifier and he perfectly lays down. And I'm like, it's just horse shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's too rigid.
That's where I was kind of getting to with, my questions were about this.
Huberman too. It's the same stuff.
It's how practical is that algorithm if it takes away the humanness?
And that's where you were going with it. I get it.
Right. But that was actually something that
if it takes out all the love and fun in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can live to 200.
Right.
I'll find with 100.
Yeah. And to her credit, and again, like, I don't care if you like the Kardashians or not. I'm just going on this particular thing right here.
I'm going to be honest. I know nothing about the Kardashians. I mean, I know like caricature level information.
That's fair. And I know because, like, when they first came out or whatever, my wife watched it, and so sometimes I watch it with my wife because I was like, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah,
and but with this,
they were married to Yeezy, right?
Yeah. That may have been the rapper that was quoted in here.
It's clearly gospel.
Yes, awesome. But Khloe Kardashian, the oldest one, she was the one that was basically calling bullshit. She was also calling her mom and her sister out on bullshit because, like, Kim Kardashian is like, I don't drink anymore at all.
Like, bitch, you were drunk last night.
2 nights ago. Yeah. And then her mom, anyway. So that was kind of funny. But she did say something that she's like, well, what about the traditions and the food, what about the things that like people cling to?
Dude, I know.
And that, if your algorithm, okay, so here's the thing too. And I was thinking when I was asking my wife, the algorithm question, or actually he said it and we were both watching it and I said 100% I'd do whatever the algorithm
of course
said.
On paper, yes,
right. And then she's like, I wouldn't. And then then we kind of debated but then I thought about it. I'm like, your algorithm is going to be different than my algorithm.
That's right.
So guess what, we would probably never see each other again.
That's right. Yeah,
whether that's my wife, you and in order to keep up with it,
I mean,
so then do I lose the human experience?
You could live forever, but you could never have a hamburger again. It'd be tough, man.
It would. Oh, there were definitely things that, of course this guy doesn't drink.
Or you could never have fun again.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, okay, I can see, plenty of people don't drink.
Yeah.
And this guy doesn't drink, and of course they bought him. Here's a ultra expensive thing of tequila that they brought him, and she's like, I guess you can water your plants with it, but like that's fine. There are things that I never have to do again in my life, and I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah, that was another thing. He had like an ultra oxidized water dispenser in his house. Anyway, whatever.
Okay. So it has more oxygen.
I don't know. I was like, okay, man.
Okay. But like,
also, I'm interrupting you, but I have a problem with people telling you they're living forever when they're like 45 and 50. Like, if you were 200 and you were giving me your lifetime routine, I would probably listen to you a lot more.
Yeah, what's gonna happen next week, right?
He's
gonna get hit by a fucking bus. No offense,
and you'll never know.
No offense.
Shit, would he live forever or not? I don't know. We'll never know.
Right there. Yeah, I mean, like if this is your goal to be immortal, then you kind of have to live in a bubble.
Do you want to be immortal though? I don't know, man. I don't know.
I mean, they were talking about like, your great grandkids,
that was one of the thing was like we're the first generation that won't die or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, man.
And
that's a big problem to solve. I don't know that it's a problem, but
well, then we definitely got to get out of this.
Well, if no one dies, that's a serious issue.
Yeah. There's
they're gonna get expensive real quick.
Did you ever read or watch the movie? It was the Tom Hanks movie that was I'm thinking of Angels and Demons. It was the name of
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
I
it was the name of the book.
Yeah.
But the other one was
Part 2.
yeah.
Demons and Angels.
Demons and Angels.
Angels and Demons was part 1.
What was it? It was the Da Vinci Code.
Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
The second one was Angel.
Yes,
I think it was a prequel.
it was a prequel.
Yes. Which is also more confusing.
Yes, but I
Had Ewan McGregor in it.
did it.
Yeah. Had Obi-Wan in it.
Oh,
He was the bad
he was
guy.
the bad guy.
Yeah.
So the Demons and Angels, that was the one where they had a society that basically wanted to kill off half the human population.
That's
right?
right.
It's because of things like this.
Yeah.
Because
We gotta get rid of these people.
well, it was supposed to be non-deterministic. It was just well, it was I was about to say X-Men. Sorry, I will get killed for this one, but Infinity War.
Oh, okay.
Avengers, everybody, half the people die, and it's a random thing. But
they got dusted.
But there was a reason for all that, and it's so that you like what we consume enough resources.
For Thanos, it was resource management.
Exactly, and pretty much that's what it was for that book as well. So if everybody becomes immortal,
you're screwed.
You are screwed.
We're all screwed.
All right.
It's not enough to go around.
All right. We've already gone dystopian. We're only 20 minutes in.
So you sent me a text. You said you started doing some stuff again or whatever based on the little bit of the book you read. So you talked about journaling.
Yeah. Well, journal forever. But I changed things up. Just to change things up. And so I was reading through this book and I get 40 or 50 chapters in, or maybe it was even 30 chapters in, and he's like, "Hey, you should journal." I'm like, "Yeah, no shit."
Told me earlier.
Yeah, thanks a lot. But he's like, "What I do is I read something or I listen to something or I talk to somebody and then I go and journal afterwards."
That is so simple, but I've never thought of it and I like it.
Yeah. But why? Why not why is it simple, but what do you think you get out of it when you do that?
So anytime I write anything, I write a lot.
Yeah.
I write a lot of blog posts and stuff, published on Medium. Whenever I have a thought to act, it's like doing a podcast. It's like when you and I talk, we don't talk like this.
Yeah.
We're just hanging out. Like when you're doing this thing, you communicate in a different way.
Yeah.
We're having a very deep discussion. That's fascinating. And it's very helpful, to your brain. The same thing sort of happens to me when I write. So if I write out, if I have a thought and I think through, to the logical conclusion of the end of the thought, and then I write that down, I feel like I can just retain it and then wield it later as information.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a physiological aspect of,
I think so.
I mean, there's a proven physiological
if I
aspect
write something, if I write it, I will remember it. If I type it out, I forget that shit immediately.
Right. Exactly.
I don't know. Maybe because I'm Gen X and
right.
I didn't have a computer when I was originally learning shit, but
no, just an Atari. But yeah, the physiological aspect, and also it's the synthesis of the things that you've taken in order to do an output with them, which I think is very interesting.
Now I will certain books I will mark in the book, I'll highlight things and I'll write notes in the.
I don't know if you can see my page turns.
Yeah, I do that a lot, but I like the idea of getting it out of the book.
Yeah,
because I find I rarely go back. And look at it unless I'm like, oh, I gotta share this thing with this person. I gotta go find it. But that's kind of not useful. No,
and it's because I will probably never read this book again.
Right, you put it on a shelf.
There are definitely people that do go back and read the same books. And actually, I take that back. This is a book that I'm more than halfway through it. I would probably go and read it again.
Yeah.
But what I started to do with, getting 40 or 50 chapters in, then I went back to the beginning of the. So what I'll do every morning, is here's my morning routine, which is never the same every single morning. So it's not a routine, but
it starts at 4 a.m. Right?
Yes, exactly. So, he talks about the 5 a.m. club. I don't even, anyway.
Yeah.
But I get up, 1 minute before Jocko.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah.
I send him a picture of my watch.
So, I go downstairs at whatever time this is, and now I will listen to a guided meditation that's about 15 minutes long. And it's not even a meditation.
Sound
It's
like
more
Brian
just
Johnson.
it's more of a, maybe I am. It's kind of like a pump up thing. I'll send it to you because it's not like you're deep introspective. It's like, go and kind of take on the day type thing. And by the time, I get through, I'm like, okay, I feel pretty good. That was actually something, again, he recommended. I've meditated before, but not to a point to where like it ever felt good.
Yeah.
But so I've been trying that. So I'll do that, and then I'll read a couple of chapters ahead. And then what I'm doing journaling wise is I'll go back to the beginning of the book, and I've started to go chapter by chapter and reread the chapter so that I understand, get it in. I mean, they're short, but so it takes, 45 seconds to 2 minutes. And then I will journal on that specific thing. And sometimes I'll bring in the other things that I've, read ahead.
Sure, yeah.
But I'll try to keep it on that particular thing. And the name of my journal now, oh shit, like we're gonna go everywhere for a second. The name of my journal is now it used to be called What Do I Want? I'll tell you why. But now it's What Do I Want and How Do I Get It?
That's pretty. That's the important part.
And this all comes from, I was traveling back a couple of years ago on a
That's funny.
Where was I coming from? From Arizona, and it was an overnight flight, red eye, and the dude sitting next to me, I just happened to see he had his phone out and he was in notes, and he wrote down, "What do I want?" And I don't know what the hell he put after that, but
Sleep.
It is stuck in my head for
good.
like 3 years now. And
That's a good question for yourself and others.
yeah. And so now like in order to be purpose, so I'll put the date, I'll write what do I want and how do I get it, and then I'll write my, either I decide to be or I'm grateful to be happy, healthy, wealthy, wise, and free, and I actually and open to opportunity. I've added a new one. But asking myself within there, what do I want, and then having something that I can refer to within here, it helps me. It's a cheat code.
Sure,
because you're not starting from a blank slate.
Yeah,
you're not starting for it's something that like it's a directed writing, and
because you're gonna be like, woke up,
got out of bed,
sat here. I mean, what? Yeah. You have to have some direction,
right?
I think that's where a lot of people fail with the journaling and stuff. There's no. I think that's why there's a huge market for the journals with the prompts.
Yeah, the journal prompts. Yeah,
with the daily stoic stuff where it's like, that's a great one. I did that for a whole. It's like the 365 daily stoic or whatever is the book, and every day was a different like stoic meditation, and you just read it.
It's the same
good shit.
Yeah, it's the same type of thing. It's just like a bringing what your real world your this is your entrepreneur. It's bringing your entrepreneur into your entrepreneur, and really just again working on yourself, because you said earlier, like the better your mental aspect is,
100%,
it leads and bleeds into everything else.
Those days where you get up and you just don't really have direction. Those are usually pretty shitty days. I mean, you just kind of like, man, I just blew 24 hours. That's what it feels like. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I like the thing you said about top 5 list. Make a list of top 5 small things you can do in a day to make that day a success.
That's chapter 79. Actually, I have it right here.
I don't know that 5 things is cool, but like a list of a couple of things. Now I do that when it comes to work.
Right. Let me actually read what he said.
Cool.
Because of course this is less than 2 pages. Productivity. A productivity protocol that the clients I advise have found exceedingly useful is the Daily 5. It's pretty simple. Like all valuable tools every day. Oh, like all valuable, period. Every day, simply set 5 tiny triumphs, little wins, or granular goals that you promise yourself you will get done before the day ends. Because, as you know well, small, daily, seemingly insignificant improvements, when done consistently over time, lead to stunning results. And so,
Yeah, man.
so it's for me, like, again, I cheat because by the time I'm doing this in my journal, like, I've already done the meditation, so I can check that. Like, if I do that every day, I feel pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
If I read and journal for 30 minutes a day, I feel pretty good. If I watch a video that I learn something in every day, I feel pretty good.
Right.
If I have 1 hour of uninterrupted work time,
Mm-hmm.
I get so much shit done in that hour, and just
sure.
people leave me alone. And then, and then my fifth thing is, pretty negotiable, on a daily basis. And so, like, I've seen before, like, have only 3 goals a day, or, because,
it's arbitrary number.
But this is like, make your bed type, back to that.
Yeah.
Like, make your bed, as you get out of it, or while you're still in it.
Admiral McRaven.
Exactly.
But I like that. I do that for work. Like, on the way to here, which why I don't really like working from home. I like to have somewhere else to go to work.
Yeah.
It really helps me mentally. I'm way more effective here doing work than I am at home doing work. But I will think, like, okay, and sometimes it's 5 things, sometimes it's 1 thing.
Yeah.
Like today, it's just 1 thing.
Yeah.
It's like, this has to get done.
Talk to Aaron.
No, this 1 thing has to get done before I leave. And it turned out to be super easy, and I did it in like 20 minutes, and I was like, cool.
Yeah. And
the day is a success.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Maybe tomorrow it's 5 things or whatever, but like, these are things, and they're not like, it's not like, build entire client website in 24 hours. Like, that's not what we're talking about. It could be part of that, but like, it's just the 1 thing that moves the proverbial ball forward.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, whatever those things are.
Yeah.
I think that's how you go home feeling like you've accomplished something.
Agreed. And it
could be health related. It could be like,
yeah,
make sure you call your mom.
Eat a fucking salad.
Eat a salad, like whatever it is. Yeah. Don't cheat on your diet. You know?
Right. Yeah. He also has a list of things not to do, but not to do. Yeah.
I did jump around a little bit.
Yeah. And
sometimes what not to do is more important than what to do.
Oh God. Yeah.
One thing I like, maybe I got it from you, was coming up with like 1 or 2 things. Maybe it's a conversation with you. I don't remember exactly, but I was feeling like I was like just ingesting so much stuff, like researching for these things and writing, like you're on this like search for better, making yourself better.
Yeah.
That you forget to actually do some of the things that you learned. You know what I mean? And like, just knowing about the things doesn't mean you're doing anything. You know what I mean? You can listen to 14 episodes of Alex Huberman, but unless you actually go do one of the things he suggests,
right,
you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
So I was like, shit, I'm like doing all this research and stuff, and I'm knowledgeable, but I'm not implementing anything, And so I started just like, I'm going to implement 1 thing.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
Do it consistently, and then add on to it.
And just keep going.
Yeah. And that, like, this show is called Warrior Mindset, and I'm just looking at the thing over there. And it's about having an improving and a growth, the growth mindset and everything.
Yeah. 1%.
Yeah. And that's why. Okay. So with the how not to age, I knew I wasn't going to be able to finish the entire 400-page book in the 2 weeks that I had it from the library. Plus I was reading this, and plus I was reading the other book.
Yeah.
So I did not skim through. I read a lot of it, and then I found like the towards the end, there were like the 5 recommendations
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, you don't have to sell me on anything.
Yeah.
Just tell me what the fuck to do.
That's
And
right.
that's the algorithm thing that I really would appreciate.
Yes.
But so I skipped ahead to the 5 things, and it was like eat walnuts, eat
What?
hold on. These are out of context, but eat walnuts, eat blackberries, and eat broccoli were like the 3 of the biggest recommendations because then there was the science behind it and
Sure.
blah 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 blah. But so when
That's your algorithm.
but pretty much. But when my son and I like he's been he played soccer for 14 years.
Yeah.
He's in his sophomore year of college, and he called me and said, hey, I want to get healthier.
Ooh.
And I
Isn't
want
that cool when they do that?
Love you, buddy.
Is he serious?
He is.
That's
and I mean,
Man, my oldest has gotten just enormous.
in a good way or
It's
bad way?
lifting weights every
Okay,
day.
gotcha.
It's like full on like creatine beast. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, but you also have to start with like, and
We started like 2-3 years ago.
yeah.
But yeah.
Well, my son's always been a picky eater, to an extreme. And so,
My youngest is like that too.
yeah, that's right.
Come on, bro.
And it's hard to deal with as a parent, but but also
Well, now it's his problem.
now it's his problem.
Yeah.
But I and so he asked a couple of weeks ago, can I come over and do like meal prep at your house? And he's like, what should I
Sure, it's not like, can you buy me a bunch of food?
No.
And I know.
Yeah, no, and he brought over the things and everything, and
cool.
we cooked. He cooked. I talked to him while he was doing it,
That's
and
cool.
so did my wife, and just to understand
That's cool.
where he was and everything. And so we're like, can you add a green thing into that?
Yeah, no.
That would be good.
Come on,
but
bro.
okay.
Yeah.
But the thing is like he's coming to a point, and I'm glad he's doing it now because I didn't do it when I was his age.
Right.
But he's coming to a point to where he's understanding like, hey, I don't have enough time to eat breakfast in the morning, if that's your thing. And then I don't eat breakfast, but then I'm at classes, and then I go to work, which is at school.
I'm hungry.
And I'm hungry.
Yeah.
And, and then, but, and I found this, especially when any diet I've done, but also like when I've, eaten gluten-free for like 3 years, like I would get to the point in the day to where like I would stress about that's all I'd think about is like, what am I going to eat next? No, but
I get it.
But this is, I mean,
Yeah.
this is what people go through every single day. Like
you are what we call in the industry food motivated. Yeah. Your food drive is very high.
Yes.
And it's not because you're like gobble, gobble, gobble. It's just some people are like that.
Yeah. And those people,
Yeah. Mine's moderate.
yeah.
Some people's are super low. It's like they just eat for maintenance.
Yeah, but
and
you've
sustenance.
also gone through that process of I'm sure at some point when you were younger, you were food driven.
I don't know that it counts as much when you're, again, I haven't definitely delved in the research of like, older adult humans, but I'm not sure it matters as much when you're like under 21.
Yeah.
It does, but I mean, if you're under 21 and you're active, kind of do whatever the fuck you want.
Right. But you weren't.
No,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, you
you can be a slug too and not
Right.
do anything and then just overeat.
right. But
sure.
you've gone through the, when we eat, I still notice that you take your time to chew.
Right.
And I don't do that. and I look at you and I'm like, boom, boom, boom,
I know.
I'm done. And you're like,
I have 3/4 of my food left, dude.
or more.
Yeah.
And I had an army way of eating that has apparently
Yes.
stuck for
Yeah.
many years.
Yeah.
But so you've kind of trained your way probably out of that food motivation thing to where I still
The past few years it's come back, but
okay.
Yeah.
I still have that issue of
But when I say food motivation, I mean like you're talking about, you're not like a fat slob.
Thanks.
You just like trying to eat donuts and shit. You are concerned with the food. You're
Yeah.
concerned with how do I sustain myself? What's coming?
Right.
I got a plan for it. What am I going to do?
right.
And it becomes more than half of your thoughts, you know, and that's a high food drive.
Yeah. Okay. And then
it doesn't mean I need all the cake and cookies.
No,
and shit.
no. But
this means you're not obsessed, but you're spending your thought process on that,
right,
as opposed to all the other shit you need to worry about.
Right. And then what I run into is I outthink myself, and then the next thing I know, I don't eat, and then I feel like shit.
Yeah.
And so that's where he was getting to where, like, you know, he didn't have time. Next thing he knew, he ate crap.
Yep.
And he's like, I don't want to do that. And I said, well, meal prep is the way to do that.
You've got to.
And then, you know, the Steve Jobs, like, I don't have to make a decision because the decisions are made for me.
We're in the same clothes.
Right. And so he's like, he's done that. He's been, you know, eating healthier. He's been, you know,
that's a very misunderstood thing you just said about Steve Jobs that I've noticed. And the story is that Steve Jobs famously had the same jeans and the same shirt. He actually got some company to make
exactly
the jeans equipment. Like, he just had them all, like, the same jeans, same shirt, same shoes, and he had a closet full of them, and he wore them the same every day. And a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneur bullshit will say, like, he did that to save time. And it has nothing to do with time. It's about his ability to make more important decisions later.
Yes.
In that, when you make a ton of small decisions, it's the collective effect of all those decisions together can equal big decisions, and it can degrade your ability to make a bigger decision later because you just get fatigued.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I know that's happened for you. I mean, it's happened for me where you're just like, I don't even want to. Like, you ever try to go home in the evening, go out to dinner with your wife, and you're like, where do you want to go? It's like, I don't care. And you're like, well, I don't really care. Right. And you're just in this, like,
and then you don't go.
What the hell are we doing? Yeah.
Right.
It's because you're just done.
Yeah.
You're done mentally for the day. And that's why he did that.
Well, that's where arguments come from as well.
Well,
in marriage.
That's a different thing.
No, but I mean, like,
that's where the food prep, what you're saying, food prep really, really helps, because it's like, well, there it is.
Yeah. Well, yes, if you predetermine, well, and this is why, like,
and you can make better decisions in the past than you can in real time.
This is why morning routines are bullshit and not bullshit at the same time.
Right, 100%.
Because they're getting overhyped, but I think you're right. They're getting overhyped for the wrong reason.
Well, they're overhyped when they're not real.
Right. But you do a morning routine in order to, like, I know that I'm going to do this, and I know it's going to make me better or feel better or whatever the fuck it is.
Or in the very least, it can become your meditation.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, when we run a karate class, we have the first, like, let's say there's 5 sections to a class. The first 3 are the same every time.
Right.
I'm sure the military use the same sort of a process where it's like, whatever we're doing, we're going to do the first bit the same every time.
Field manual 100.
There you go.
You know, like, I mean, yeah, it's
not just for, like, optimizing everyone. It's like, it's also part of your ritual, your meditation.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's why you don't do PT in the middle of the day. You do it early. And, you know, So back to kind of, like, you know, the Khloe Kardashian, what about rituals and traditions that people do?
100%.
Like, that it humanizes them, but also, you know, it makes it, and she said, they make you feel safe. And, but also, you know, safe is one thing, but they allow you to do the higher level things as well.
Yeah.
When you have a tradition, when you have a ritual, you know, they can be done incorrectly and poorly for, you know, centuries. But you do the, I mean, even the, you know, the list, the 5 things or whatever, that I found that helpful, because those are 5 things that I know will make me feel better at the end of the day. And whether they're the same every time, or I just, like, I'm predetermining these are the things that I can check that list off and feel good at the end of the day, even if I fail on everything else.
Sure.
Maybe.
I mean, it's the proverbial thing where, you know, you always have your best ideas in the shower.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of the same deal.
Yeah. And he's like, write them down, even if you're in the shower.
Do you remember, I don't know if you remember if you were at that event or not, there's that guy, Cameron Mall.
Yeah.
Where he's like, he claimed he invented, like, a shower slate board or something. Yeah. He's like, this is what you keep in the shower for your great ideas. And he was, like, trying to hawk this thing. I like the guy a lot, but I just remember that being, I was like, that's fucking dumb.
Well, there's also shower Post-it notes.
Yeah, I mean,
I love it.
yeah. I just remember at the time, like, he didn't invent anything, but I get it.
Yeah.
He's got a new one out now called Do-Its. Instead of to-dos, they're do-its.
Okay.
It's funny. It's just, hey, I give him, he's always working, man.
Well, if it's something that can, I mean, these are the cheat codes of life, right? These are things that if we've talked about before, if you have processes, processes are sometimes better than like incredible ideas, because processes actually get something done.
That's right.
It moves the needle.
Yep.
It gets you, down the road, as opposed to like, one incredible idea that you're like, okay, now how do we do that thing?
Yep.
And so kind of back to these books and Brian Johnson and everything, like, I don't necessarily want to live forever. I want to live
a long time.
I want to live a long time.
That's the yeah. Sorry, what's going
on? No. I want to live a long time, be healthy during that time, in order to enjoy, my family, my friends.
That's right. Yeah, because you can live forever, but you're gonna look like Emperor Palpatine. You're gonna be alone in a cave. I'll pass.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll pass on that.
Yeah. And I also. I hate and I love people at the same time. And
I know. Same way.
and especially now, and I'm sure that every generation has gone through it, but like US world politics right now, like how I feel, but
it's a drag.
It's like, I don't care what side you're on.
It's
like
a drag.
The fact that there are sides still fucking kills me.
It kills me.
And so, so these are the things that I do to protect myself.
Yes. 100%
against the stupidity that I hope that will pass on whatever side of this thing you're on. I hope those things will pass to where maybe Brian Johnson's right. It's like, if that's the type of human that you evolve to, that looks at things and goes, none of that is really, really important,
right?
Then is that so bad?
I don't know. Probably not.
All right. So
that was a good talk, man. Let's come back when we both finish the book.
Okay.
Do a proper deep dive
review
of that book.
Yeah.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'll keep dog urine some pages.
Me too. Yeah. I use highlighter, but whatever.
That's fine.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thank you.